Hey everybody, happy Friday and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeVries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is Dennis Tzeng.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Collider Movie Talk here in LA. It's unusually rainy.
Yeah. We live in Seattle now.
Yes.
It's been a month of this. It's ridiculous.
We need it. We have a drought.
Sinead, what do you think about that?
I hate
over
the
it.
rain. I like the rain for like the first 5 minutes, and now that it's been 3 weeks, I'm a little over it, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Anyways, also here is Perri Nemiroff.
Yeah, I don't know what camera I'm looking at, and I don't own an umbrella, so today kind of sucked. Thank you, Cody. That's very helpful. The rain has scrambled my brain. Why did I move to LA if it's going to rain every day?
Also here is John Rocha.
Hey, everybody. An umbrella. You wouldn't normally need an umbrella, but yeah, today I'm wearing my Wolverine shirt underneath this because I've still been watching the Logan trailer nonstop for the last 2 days. So welcome, everybody. Hi.
And Clarke Wolfe.
Oh, hey, everyone. I don't mind the rain. Nice to see you.
All right, what do we got
Nice.
first?
THR reports that New Line Cinema, which has been developing a Shazam movie for over a decade, has finally figured out the perfect approach. The studio, under Warner Brothers, will develop a Shazam movie alongside a separate Black Adam movie that will star Dwayne Johnson. The movie comes on the heels of last week's high-level meeting with Johnson and DC Films co-head Geoff Johns, after which Johnson took to social media to promise hope, optimism, and fun. There is no writer or filmmaker attached to Black Adam, but THR's sources say Shazam has a script being worked on by Earth to Echo writer Henry Gayden. A release date for both movies has not been set. Dennis, do you think audiences will turn out for a Shazam and Black Adam movie?
I think they will show up for it as long as they have The Rock prominently featured in the Shazam movie. It makes a lot of sense. He's been waiting for a while. And the movie's not coming out till 2018, 2019, 2019. So if he's gonna wait this long, I think he's telling DC, look, you got to make a movie just for me. So he'll probably be in the Shazam movie partially, and then have his own feature film. Yeah. Rocha, what do you think?
Well, there's a lot of skepticism on my end because this writer, the last thing was Earth to Echo, which wasn't that well received, and he did a weird.
It's a sweet movie. I like Earth to Echo.
Okay. All right. This is my time now, Perri. Zombie Roadkill was like a weird little series he did, and I love Thomas Hayden Church, but I thought it was a little strange. So this is an interesting choice for a writer. Now, what I think would be fascinating if Warner Brothers did this is to release the Black Adam film first. And then you have turning things on its ear, where you have the villain movie first introducing the hero, and then the hero movie after that. If they were able to do that and pull that off, they would get so much credit in the superhero film world, or people who love the superhero films, for being able to do this. And it makes sense, which is why you cast The Rock. I mean, he's been attached since 2008. So he's been waiting patiently. We're in 2017 now. And so this kind of thing needs to happen. If you're going to use him this way, you got to pay homage to the dedication and the time he's spent with this character. So I think if you're going to do that, because he's supposed to be rumors are he might be an Aquaman as an introduction. So I think it'd be smart to start off with a Black Adam movie. Then you see the Shazam. The fact that they even cast a Shazam, we're waiting to hear that, Billy Batson. So I think this is smart because The Rock plays anti-hero really well. And you want a guy who's going to be able to flesh out this character and get you interested, and then you'll have going in to see Shazam, you'll have a whole different way to approach that movie than you would a normal superhero film.
Clarke, do you like Rocha's idea for this, or would you rather they do it the normal way, Shazam first and then Black Adam?
Well, I think, look, the way I was approaching this story this morning when we were reading the show notes is I am not familiar with this character. And I kind of kept it that way specifically because I think a lot of movie-going audiences might also not be familiar with that character, but they are familiar with The Rock. And I think for WB, what they're going to have to be aware of is the fact, like, unlike what Marvel did when they first launched with Iron Man, people already know Batman. People already know Superman. To an extent, they know the Green Lantern, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on and on. If this is one of their, I don't want to, how do I say this? if this is one of their characters that hasn't been front and center in pop culture across all pop culture mediums, film, television, comics, etc., for so long, they're going to need to introduce this character. And so I would love to see him show up in Aquaman. And also, the idea of giant Jason Momoa and giant The Rock, like in the same room together, having a giant off, I think is awesome. So, I think that the idea of The Rock is really smart to introduce a character to mainstream audiences that they might not know yet.
Perri, are you excited for the giant off?
I love the idea of one, a giant off, and two, your idea, Rocha, of potentially getting the Black Adam movie first, because at this point, I just want to see DC and Marvel, I don't care who, do something different. And that to me sounds like something different. And I think that's really the only silver lining in them announcing right now that, oh, hey, we're going to split this into 2 movies because then they can develop them side by side. And that opens up the door to so many different creative opportunities that we've yet to see. But of course, given the past few weeks in particular, we see them announce stuff all the time and change stuff all the time. So I can't help but to be skeptical now. And as much as I want to be excited, I like the idea. I didn't know much about this property, and then when they started to announce work on the movie, I looked into it. Very intrigued by the idea. Very intrigued by The Rock taking on this role because I'm a big believer in The Rock in everything he wants to be in. I could just see his excitement and enthusiasm oozing off the screen in every damn movie he's in, and it's freaking infectious. I love it. So I want to see him in this role. I have all the faith in it in the world. However, like I said in the Collider News video we did yesterday, pump the brakes. Let me see another DC movie, enjoy that. Let me wrap my head around another ideas you guys have coming quickly. And then you just start planting the seeds. Oh, here's the next thing. And then I think it'll let me be excited without that hint of skepticism.
I think if they pull this off, too, it's akin to what they pulled off in Civil War. Like the way to walk the line of being able to introduce the hero, the villain movie first to introduce your hero and introduce your villain, obviously. If they could pull that off, there's a large amount of credibility they'll get. And I think it's important at this point with what's going on with the DC EU stuff and people dropping out, people changing writers, all these kinds of things that are happening. You need something that's going to excite the fans back into the DC EU universe. And I think this is a great way to go. And why not The Rock to introduce? This is it's just perfect.
I think you almost kind of have to have someone like The Rock in a movie like this because Shazam and Black Adam, like to non-comic book fans, they're not even on. He's not even on a Green Lantern's level of recognizability. Right. So you have to bring someone like The Rock who the mainstream movie audience knows. Yeah,
and people don't know. He's got the same power as Superman. He's Earth's mightiest mortal. He can go toe-to-toe with Superman. What you see here, that's Alex Ross's art, and that's from Kingdom Come. And when you read Kingdom Come, the graphic novel, he goes toe-to-toe with Superman. Yeah. But no one hardly knows about Shazam, so it's a shame.
Well, it's kind of a more old school story.
Yeah,
His
right.
origin.
Exactly.
He's a little boy, a cave, and a wizard. Like they're gonna have to modernize that thing.
We're talking about Harry Potter right now.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
According to Variety, Traffic screenwriter Stephen Gaghan has been hired to write and direct the Ubisoft adaptation of their game, The Division. Based on one of the fastest-growing new video game franchises of all time, the movie will star Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain in the 2 lead roles. Set in New York City after the spread of a smallpox pandemic, gamers play as members of the Strategic Homeland Division, tasked with rebuilding the organization's operations in the crime-ridden Manhattan. Ubisoft will now package the project in order to find a studio for release. Perri, do you think The Division can be the one video game adaptation that will break the curse of bad adaptations now that Stephen Gaghan is on board to direct?
This is a big question right there. I think it has a chance, but let's just remove the video game adaptation part of this. You have an award-winning writer-director attached. You have Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain, and then you do have source material, video game or not, that is so insanely intriguing to me. I love post-apocalyptic anything. I love the way that it starts in this game, though, where it's that the smallpox virus, I believe, is given to people in New York on Black Friday from money, I think. That is just fascinating, and that's an idea that if I see that play out on screen the right way, that's a thing where then you will not touch another dollar bill without looking at it and being like, oh, who or what was touching this before me? I just love that idea. At this point, I don't think they could be packaging the movie any better. As someone who someone who has never played the game, I don't really know about its narrative potential in terms of going beyond that core concept and actually turning into a full-fledged feature. Obviously, I was disappointed in Assassin's Creed, but video games, I think there's a chance. There's definitely no saying, oh, Assassin's Creed and like all the video game adaptations that came before that didn't do well, so now none of them can. We can't say that, that's for sure. And I think this has potential. I'm not ready to knock it just yet, and I'm hyped to see how it turns out from here.
Yeah, I think eventually there's no way there's not going to ever be a good video game movie. We just don't know if it's going to be this one. I'm a little gun shy because of Assassin's Creed. You had Michael Fassbender and Marion Cotillard and even Jeremy Irons in there, where I thought, okay, here's a team that's going to take video game movies to another level. Didn't happen. It went the opposite direction. So this one, I'd like to get excited because Stephen Gaghan wrote Traffic, won an Oscar for that. I liked his screenplay. He also directed Syriana, which I enjoyed. You have Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain, two wonderful actors. Jake Gyllenhaal, he did have another outing with another video game with Prince of Persia, which was also terrible. So that gives me pause. I played this game a little bit, but I didn't play the campaign mode. I played a little bit of the multiplayer mode, so I don't know too much about the story. I know it's a big hit. I think a lot of people will be looking forward to it. I'm just not sure. I'm going to wait and see. Clarke?
Yeah, Dennis, you and I are really on the exact same page. Everything you just said is exactly how I feel. I mean, I looked at the packaging of Assassin's Creed. I looked at a Christmas release date, and I thought, wow, this studio has confidence in this. Got these great actors involved, and, we saw that didn't necessarily pay off, I think, the way that anybody would have wanted it to. And so, I'm cautiously optimistic about this. I think that's the only way you can look at these adaptations. However, I do think it's really interesting that it has taken so long and so many big swings to get a video game adaptation right. I don't really understand why. And I mean, I'm not necessarily talking about the Mortal Kombat of the 90s or even Resident Evil for that matter. I don't want to say that there's not any value in these video game adaptations that have come before, but in terms of a mainstream, critically well received by the fans, A-list cast. It just hasn't happened yet, and I think that's really interesting. So maybe this will be the one. I'm not entirely sure.
Rocha?
It's ironic that they can do a successful Angry Birds movie, but they can't do a video game movie. And this emoji thing came out yesterday, that trailer. So to me, I think I'm actually really excited about this possibility. One, because this is a Tom Clancy game, and Stephen Gaghan did Syriana, did Traffic. He understands the nuances of these kind of political type of stories. And what you have here in The Division, it's more like it's human. It's not fantastical. It's real, right? This stuff gets released. They have to figure out how to put the administration back together, go down on the ground floor. There's people turning on each other. It's kind of Walking Dead, that kind of vibe. So it feels like this, if there's anyone that's going to succeed and be called technically a video game movie, I think this has a real chance because it doesn't have like Assassin's Creed, it was he's like different lives or all these kinds of things, or Warcraft, or all this stuff. You have to create these incredible worlds. It's just post-apocalyptic, stuff's going down. People got to put this stuff together. There are people on two sides of the fence. And then you have very strong, grounded actors like Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain who have experience doing these kinds of films to really give you the people to follow through the film and enjoy. So I have a lot of faith that this is actually going to work. And to me, it's kind of cheating calling it a video game movie, but I think it'll still qualify and work.
I think if they don't treat it like a video game movie,
exactly.
If they're not beholden to like, oh, we need to do fan service here, fan service there, this has to be exactly like the video game. And Stephen Gaghan decides to write an actual, takes the premise of it and keeps that, and then goes off and develops the characters and actually flesh out a storyline. All right, now we're moving on to buy or sell. What do we got first?
During a recent IMAX screening of XXX: The Return of Xander Cage, director DJ Caruso revealed to Collider's Steve Weintraub that he had entered talks to direct a third G.I. Joe movie back in 2015. Though the talks ended up stalling and Caruso went on to helm XXX, he did try and mount a very different G.I. Joe movie, one that would include the Transformers. Well, yeah, but they're not ready to do G.I. Joe meets Transformers yet. That's exactly what they should do, but they're not ready to do that because, in fact, the script that I was developing, the two worlds sort of collided at the end, and when they read it, they were like, we're not ready to do this yet. They will eventually collide those two worlds, and it's probably when Mr. Bay decides he's done with Transformers. Rocha, would you buy or sell a G.I. Joe movie that featured Transformers?
Yes, I absolutely would. Even though they've messed up the last two G.I. Joe movies, and they have, there's where people get angry at me for liking the Transformers movies. I respect that. But they really messed up the G.I. Joe movies, and those could have been fantastic. I have anger towards that. So if you're going to improve them, bring in the Transformers in my world. Absolutely. I'm a big, big fan of this. And I know some people that are involved in this stuff, that were involved in this stuff. And I heard some of the rumors that they can't do this yet because of Bay and Paramount. They can't add the Transformers yet to this, so they've got to work that out. That's what they're trying to negotiate now. Hasbro wants to connect everything the way Marvel does. They're just having a much harder time making it work, which is why they have this like who's who of a writer's room that they built and collected with Akiva Goldsman leading them. Then there's a lot of notable people here. People who are in charge of Luke Cage, people who are in charge of Spider-Man Homecoming, people versus O.J. Simpson, the Dark Tower, Dogfight, Tomb Raider movie. Like all these people who are involved in these projects are in this writer's room trying to connect all these properties. And I'm not surprised. I mean, they see what Disney is doing with Marvel, what Star Wars is doing now. Like there's all this blueprint that's out there. So if you're someone like Hasbro and you keep kind of not quite hitting the mark, you want to kind of connect all these things and make it a little more interesting for the fans to come back and watch it. So if you're asking me, I buy or sell it, I absolutely buy it as long as they do it right this time.
I love how many topics that you and me can agree and disagree at the same time. Because I also am going to buy a G.I. Joe movie with Transformers.
Nice.
But I'll disagree with you. I actually found the G.I. Joe, they're not good movies.
They're not.
I found them much more enjoyable than the Transformers
How is
movies.
that possible?
Because they're silly and
Transformers.
dumb. No. Transformers takes itself too seriously. Where G.I. Joe is like ridiculous. And there's look, it's stupid. But it's like dumb, fun, stupid. Anyways. I would like to see a Transformer, but I do understand why Paramount doesn't do it. I mean, you have Michael Bay. Look, as much as I dislike that franchise, I understand why Michael Bay is still directing them.
Yeah.
It's money. The movies make money. Of course they're going to keep. And if he doesn't want the G.I. Joe universe to interfere with his Transformers universe, they're going to let him do whatever he wants because as long as the profits for these Transformers movies keep going, they're gonna keep letting him do that. So they're gonna hold off. And then with DJ Caruso said, once Michael Bay gets off of Transformers, that's when they'll bring Transformers and G.I. Joe together into some sort of shared universe. Perri?
You know what would get me interested in a Transformers movie, Rocha?
Yeah.
This idea right here.
Yes.
I am all for this. I'm going to buy it, even though clearly it's not happening anytime soon. And I really don't think it's going to happen at all or not in the near future whatsoever because this next Transformers movie is going to come out. And as much as I pick on this guy over here for liking him, it's going to crush it. It's going to make a lot of money all over again. Michael Bay is going to continue with the whatever the writer's room is working on. They're going to keep making more of them. And this is not going to happen, sadly, because when I read this story, my mind went to the Lego movie. And one of my favorite things that the Lego movie did is it took a toy that I used to love as a kid, and while giving a story that works for the characters they created for that movie, it also kind of gave me that same feeling like when I used to play with Legos as a kid. It's like something about the characters and the way they moved around and the way they acted and just like the pieces that they used, that represented how you played with Legos as a kid. The idea of them creating some sort of like massive Hasbro universe where it's like, because like, what kid separates their Transformers and their G.I. Joes? No, you mash them all together and you play with everything together. Yeah. The thought of that kind of thing happening here really excites me. Even though I buy the story, though, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, sadly.
So, Clarke, when you were younger, were you using your Transformers and your G.I. Joes together?
All about the mashup. Yeah. All about the mashup. No, I buy this if we can throw Ouija in there, too. I would like a Ouija. This is how we're going to summon the Transformers.
What is this game?
And no, I mean, look, I buy this totally. And I think that it would be a really fun way to approach both universes. But as everybody on the panel has essentially said, until Michael Bay is done making Transformers movies, this is not going to happen. And I think that's too bad because I do agree with you, Dennis. I think the Transformers movies take themselves a little too seriously for my liking, and so I would like to see an element of fun sort of coming together. And I think that injecting GI Joes in there would be awesome. So I'm on board.
Yeah, I never thought all four of us would be behind this concept, but it has
Rocha
happened.
still doesn't seem happy.
No, because they don't take themselves seriously. They don't take themselves seriously. Dropping ships from the sky onto China, that's not taking themselves seriously. Oh, well, that's just my opinion.
All right, what's next?
Deadline reports that MGM has entered talks with Anne Hathaway to team with Rebel Wilson in Nasty Women, the new title for the remake of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. The comedy gender swaps the roles of the 1988 Frank Oz directed film that starred Steve Martin and Michael Caine as con men who try to swindle an heiress. Hathaway and Wilson will play the scam artists who compete to swindle a naive tech prodigy out of his fortune. And a release date has not been set. Clarke, do you buy or sell their Dirty Rotten Scoundrels remake with Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson?
You know, I feel of two minds about this, to be completely honest. So on the one hand, first of all, for you guys who might be interested, MGM is essentially, they have had well-documented money troubles over the last 10 to 15 years. And so when you see these remakes that are straight remakes of like Carrie or other MGM titles, this is why. Because they're free and essentially all they have to do is repackage them and put them right back out, and that's how they make money. So if you have a RoboCop, another one I'm pretty sure is MGM. So so that's sort of, it doesn't surprise me that MGM looked at this and went, yep, let's go ahead. I love the original film. I love Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. It is hilarious. If you haven't seen it, you really should do yourself a favor and watch. Both Michael Caine and Steve Martin are fabulous. So I like Anne Hathaway when Anne Hathaway does more, Devil Wears Prada, which isn't a laugh out loud rom-com. It's a bit more on the serious side. It's not Princess Diaries, right? I like her when she's doing that. I like her when she's doing Rachel Getting Married. Yeah. And I got confused with Margot at the wedding, which is very different. But I like her when she's doing that. And we're about to talk about a film in our next segment where she's fantastic. When it comes to doing broad comedy or big comedy, I don't love Anne Hathaway. And I think when you have a pairing and I like Rebel Wilson, by the way, but Rebel Wilson is not the straight man, and that's what works so well about the dynamic of Michael Caine and Steve Martin. One person is definitely the straight man, and one person is definitely the broad comedy. And I worry when I see this pairing that maybe they won't balance each other out.
Rocha?
Yeah, I think you make great points, Clarke. And I didn't know that about the MGM stuff, so that's something to really unsettle me like crazy, and which, kind of lose faith in the studio a little bit. But I like their back and forth, and I think she can play this. I think Anne can play this, and I think for the reasons you pointed out, for her in these other films, she can play these kind of stick in the mud type characters, kind of like what Dakota Johnson did on How to Be Single. She kind of played that off Rebel's stuff, because Rebel's just going to do what Rebel does. You're not going to stop her being what she is. But I think they can play off each other well, kind of like in The Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy. They played really well off each other. I think this has a possibility. I also like the original. It's really funny movie. I think it's as great as everyone thinks it is. I thought it was funny, but I think there's potential here to do even more, especially modernize with the tech stuff and the kid. There's more fun to play around with, and I think they could have good chemistry together. Because Anne does know the comedy. You can see her in certain moments figuring out the beats. But I agree, overall broad stuff, she ain't the best, but she can figure out the beats.
Perri?
I gotta sell this. This to me is the perfect example of something that they are calling, it's just like a reboot, remake, reimagining, I don't care what you call it, that just doesn't need to be. Why not just give these two fantastic actresses their own starring title and just call it something different and say, you could even, actually this is the same thing with The Division too, because the part about the Division movie that appealed to me most was that initial core concept. Why not just create something and treat it as though it's an original narrative that you're creating from the ground up, and just use something as your inciting incident, as your starting idea, and make it its own thing. Maybe that's the key to making proper reboots, remakes, imaginings, adaptations, because once you paint yourself into this box and you've got these expectations that you have to live up to, it is almost impossible because there are so few that really exceeded expectations and worked in terms of being a continuation of something that existed before that we loved before, but also standing on its own. And one of the few that I could think of is 21 Jump Street. That's a great example. What are the odds that this can pull that off? I don't know, and I probably won't be able to even make an educated guess until I know some of the other filmmakers behind the movie, but I love the two of them, and I think How to Be Single deserves a lot more credit than it gets. Rebel Wilson and Dakota Johnson are so damn good in that movie. I've watched it a whole bunch of times since it came out, and nobody seems to like it but me. But I guess you do?
I caught it late at night, and I was like, let's see, because you and other people have said it, and I was like, and I enjoyed the heck out of it.
I enjoyed it too.
I couldn't believe it.
surprisingly.
Oh, yay.
I saw it on the airplane over
Glad I'm
winter
in
break.
good company
I couldn't
now.
believe how enjoyable it was. I was like, I wanted to hate this, and I loved it. I really did.
I'm going to hesitantly buy this. Unlike Rocha, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is one of my favorite comedies of all time.
show.
I think it's hilarious. They're not going to keep the name. They're changing the name. So they're just taking the idea. I hope they keep the twist at the end of the movie for the new one. And I hope they don't change that up. But yeah, I do like Anne Hathaway. I do like Rebel Wilson. I hope what you guys are saying comes true where essentially you're saying Anne Hathaway should stay in her lane. She shouldn't like veer off and try and be Rebel Wilson. She should play the straight woman to Rebel Wilson. So I think that if they can maintain that, I think it will be funny. All right, what's next?
The first trailer for Colossal, starring Anne Hathaway, has landed online. Directed by Open Windows Helmer Nacho Vigalondo, the film features Hathaway as Gloria, a woman whose life is falling to pieces thanks to a series of poor life choices and too much booze. At the same time, a giant kaiju starts popping up in Seoul, South Korea, destroying everything in its path. Gloria soon realizes that she shares a psychic connection with the monster and is threatening to destroy all of mankind. Colossal also stars Dan Stevens and Tim Blake Nelson and is slated to land in U.S. theaters on April 7th, 2017. Clarke, do you buy or sell the first trailer for Colossal?
Okay, so I buy this hardcore. I saw this movie at Fantastic Fest. It was my second favorite movie I saw there, and I saw a ton of things. Wow. I think this movie is fantastic. And we didn't mention in the notes, but Jason Sudeikis is in this movie as well. And he and Anne Hathaway are both playing against type, using quote fingers. And this, speaking of Anne Hathaway, is a return to a more, I think Anne even said in interviews that this is her character in Colossal is like a cousin to her character in Rachel Getting Married. So it's not, it has a lot of laughs, but it also has a lot of heart, and it also deals with some really dark stuff. I mean, make no mistake, she is playing an alcoholic. She is playing a woman who is really struggling to get on her feet. And, but this clever device of the kaiju is really awesome. And Sudeikis, by the way, when I said earlier that they both play against type, playing a really, a character that we haven't seen him play yet. And so I can't give this movie enough praise. I really, really love it. I think it's funny. I think it's heartfelt. And I love the kaiju stuff. So and this is a really fun trailer. It's a cute little like tease. I laughed a couple of times when she does her little dance and the kaiju's dancing. So yeah, I buy it big time.
Perri?
Oh my God, I buy this. I've been following this movie since they first announced it, just because the idea of Anne Hathaway starring in something like this really intrigued me and sounded like something different. I'm not the biggest Nacho Vigalondo fan. I really didn't like Open Windows, so that was the only thing that had me getting a little nervous about this, and just I suspected that the tone might be all over the place, and given what I'm hearing from folks who have seen it, it is different in that respect, but in a way that works for what it is. But just turning my attention to this teaser particularly, wow, what a great way to start to sell your movie. You have a really interesting core concept, and that's all you're going to show people. Here's our interesting starting point, and it's fun. Let's just tell you what it is and leave it at that. There is no better teaser to have started this marketing campaign off with. I cannot wait to see this movie.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it as well. I actually first heard about this movie on Collider Nightmares.
Yay,
I didn't.
thanks for watching, Dennis.
So, I didn't know Anne Hathaway was doing this movie, and I'm actually quite surprised. It doesn't seem like her usual fare. This seems like almost like a mix, obviously, of the Cloverfield / Godzilla, but almost with an indie comedy, rom-com type of feel to it. The trailer was only a minute long, but it got me hooked. Rocha?
Yeah, I'm super excited. This is the first time I've heard anything about it, and so to me, the trailer itself, I was super excited to see this. Now, this is how you do a kaiju, not that Pacific Rim crap.
Oh,
And so
God.
this was so much better. But I think from the trailer itself, I like that Anne Hathaway took her time away from all the crap she got for Les Miserables, and she's slowly been coming back, and now we see
What do you
her
mean
kind
by
of...
crap?
Well,
She got
people-
won an Oscar.
He means
no.
Oscar.
No, I mean, people were coming after her for they were tearing her apart online, and you saw it all the time. You know,
Well,
some of it warranted, and some of it not.
Yeah.
Fair enough, but
It's that overexposure
exactly.
thing.
But I think that it's good that she took a step back, took her time, let that stuff die down, and now she's coming back with these projects, multiple projects, and this looks fantastic and so much fun. And I love that Dan Stevens is popping up in all these independent films. Dan Stevens is such a good actor. They're using him correctly. He's smart. Whoever his agents are, they're using it correctly. And Anne is hilarious in this. And I can already tell, this is operating on multiple levels. The man versus woman thing, the alcoholism thing. There's a lot going on here that I think when you watch it, if you're intelligent enough to grasp the levels they're playing at, you're gonna really love the way they walk the line through all these different things. So I'm looking forward to this very much. And I liked Nacho's segment on VHS, on the VHS series. I liked his Parallel Monsters one that he did.
If I may add, I asked Nacho at Fantastic Fest, okay, so you're this independent filmmaker, you have this crazy multi-level, which it is. This is a genre blending movie, right? It's not just one thing. And so I said, how did you get Anne Hathaway and Jason Sudeikis to take this on? Like, how was the casting process? And he said, I wish I could take credit for it, but essentially her people read the script and they called me and said, hey, we have a client that we think might be interested in this. Do you mind if we pass it along? And he said, sure. And their client was Anne Hathaway. She said, yes, immediately. Wow. Sudeikis followed. Boom, they were done.
Wow.
I mean, it's like a story that you never would imagine, but I think it's a testament to her as an actress. Like, kind of like it's like, okay, she's won her Oscar in a big musical, big Christmas release. She's done these big box office type of things, and she's done these smaller movies as well. What's next for her? I like that this is next for her. So yeah, it was her, essentially, according to Nacho, it was her choice, and she's the one that got this going.
Plus, I like the Jeremy Johnson in the trailer dancing around his leather jacket. That's totally Jeremy Johnson. I don't care what anybody says.
Sinead and Wendy, do you guys watch this trailer, and what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really quick trailer, but it's so hard not to buy something when everything you hear about the movie is positive. Even like in the notes, I was reading the write-up on Collider.com, and I just hearing you talk about it gets you excited just because you're like, man, people really love this movie. But I love Anne Hathaway, and there's like a face that she makes in this trailer so much. It's that same face she makes in Princess Diaries. It's that same face she makes in Devil Wears Prada. And like she's such an awesome actress to me because she takes her personality with her in every single project, no matter the type of character she's playing. She has these little quirks that make her character so grounded, and you can find ways to relate to every single person that she plays with because you feel like you know her because of how much she shows who she is. And I love that, and I don't know, she can do no wrong for me, honestly.
Wendy?
Oh, I mean, I love Anne Hathaway, and I think it's been a while she's been in a comedic role, something like this. And like I loved her in Devil Wears Prada. So to put her in a movie with a kaiju, I mean, I was all for it even before I watched the trailer. When I was reading the description, I was like, this sounds so interesting. And I watched it. It's a little unexpected coming from her because I think for a while she was doing just like, dramas and things like that. So it's nice to see her come back to a movie like this. I'm excited to see this on screen.
It gave me the Lobster vibes too, like something so ridiculous.
yeah,
but
Sinead.
just when I was watching the trailer, because I just watched Lobster and I freaking loved it. Like I was obsessed with it. I talked about it for like 72 hours straight. I was like, have you seen The Lobster? Have you seen The Lobster? Everyone's like, shut up, Shane. But The Lobster is so good. And when I was watching the trailer, I felt like some sort of familiarity with it. And I realized now when she was talking that's what I was thinking of. It's that same like completely ridiculous idea, but it's got the same kind of vibey thing
I think that's a really appropriate thought process. Yeah, for sure. Like, I think that's really smart and a good way to explain it.
Thanks, Clarke.
You're welcome.
Sinead, what animal would you pick?
Oh, what did I say? I actually said
I know
would-
you've thought about this.
I did. I said, shoot. I can't remember. Let me come back to it because it took me a very long time to come up with the reason why. But it wasn't any of the animals that anybody chose in the movie.
And you guys are talking about The Lobster.
Obviously.
All right, what's next?
All right, Open Road Films has released the new trailer for Collide, starring Nicolas, Hoult, and Felicity Jones. After a heist goes terribly wrong, Casey Stein is on the run from a ruthless gang headed by mob boss Hagen. Casey calls his former employer and drug smuggler to protect his longtime girlfriend, Juliet, before Hagen gets his hands on her. The movie also stars Sir Anthony Hopkins and Sir Ben Kingsley and opens in theaters on February 24th. Dennis, do you buy or sell the new trailer for Collide?
For some reason, I'm buying this
Yes.
trailer. There's nothing new there. Story seems very simple, something we've seen before. The action looked pretty good. You have two heavy hitters with Anthony Hopkins and Ben Kingsley in this film. The only thing I'm concerned about is Felicity Jones's role in this. Like, is her character purely there as a plot device? Is she just there to be kidnapped and that's it? If so, why cast Felicity Jones? Like, you could cast any other actress. Hopefully, there's something more to it than that we get to see. Clarke, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's funny because I was struck by the same elements about Felicity Jones as well. I thought, okay, you've got an Oscar nominee and she's just the thing that gets captured? Like, that's kind of weird. So I sell this trailer, not for that reason. That was something that was weird to me. I sell this trailer. This is not interesting to me at all. I think this looks very bad.
Rocha?
This is so much fun. This looks like this is Statham light a little bit, But I love the fact that once again we get Kingsley doing one of these outlandish characters that he does so well. No matter what crappy movie you're watching that he happens to be in, he's still a joy to watch when he does these parts. And it has a little bit of Lucky Number 11 vibe to it, where you have these two different factions using this one dude in the middle to try to figure stuff out. You have Anthony Hopkins in a fantastic powder blue suit, and then you have this whole idea of Felicity Jones. And I agree with you. And I think that this is interesting that's happening with us as movie watchers in 2016, 2017. Like, we're now noticing these plot devices that in the 80s and 90s we didn't care about, or the early 2000s we didn't think about,
Well,
or didn't
some
highlight.
people didn't
There
think
we go,
about it
there we
because
go.
some people did think about it.
All right, there we go, Clarke. Yes. We'll talk about Latino stuff in a little bit. But yeah, this whole idea of this thing, we didn't notice this stuff before as prevalently. And now the pop culture has finally caught up to this whole thing, and it's becoming very obvious. I felt the same way you guys did. I saw this and I was like, why is she in this? But then when you find out the movie's been delayed for so long, maybe she shot this at a time when she wasn't quite in that space. And sometimes actors take paychecks. It's a 2-week job. I got to pay for something, and I'll do it real quick, and I'm in and out. It doesn't necessarily matter, especially British actors. British actors slide in and out of stuff all the time. And you have Hopkins in this, and he's an Oscar-winning actor. There's all these kinds of things. I think this looks interesting, although Aaron Creevy doesn't have a great resume, this looks kind of fun, and it looks like high production value, too, from what I saw in the trailer.
Perri?
This looks like not fun. Also, if you've forgotten, you're not allowed to have fun.
Yeah, that's
no
right.
more
I
fun
apologize.
for Rocha, so you can't see Collide.
That's right.
Maybe you should see Collide. No, I can't sell this fast enough. This does not appeal to me whatsoever. And I'm not saying this type of movie doesn't appeal to me, but this movie just has no kind of original flair to it whatsoever. It's just Nicolas Hoult running around and cars going crazy and guys like Anthony Hopkins and Ben Kingsley shouting out one-liners, and I don't like it. But for the record, this thing was filmed in 2014 before The Theory of Everything came out.
Yeah.
So that's why Felicity Jones might have been like, oh, hey, I want to do that right now.
See? That matters.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Work is
Was waiting for it.
work is work. I'm not shaming her for
No,
taking
no.
the role at all. So just. And also, if they could have put Howie Day's song "Collide" over this trailer, then I would have bought it. So if someone on the internet wants to make that for me, thanks.
All right, guys. Now we're moving on to box office predictions. This is brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. This is the weekly Friday segment where we try and predict the top 5 movies of the weekend. Clarke, I know this is your favorite game to play. What do you got?
Oh, gosh. Well, for me, okay, so I don't know if the panel would agree or not, but I'm thinking that the big question is what's going to be number 1 over
Yes.
number 2, because both Triple X and Split are tracking kind of similarly. They had similar Thursday night previews, so I'm going to give it to Split. I think that M. Night Shyamalan has enough intrigue, and I think the buzz around this movie, and by the way, if you're interested, Christian Harloff and I are going to be talking about it a little later, so stay tuned tuned, Collider Video. But I think people are going to be intrigued, and I think people want to have a good time, and I think people like James McAvoy. So I'm going to give number 1 to Split, and I'm going to give number 2 to Triple X, and then I'm going to give number 3 to Hidden Figures. I hope it sticks around. And then number 4, I'm going to give La La Land, and then number 5, I'm gonna, just for the hell of it, give it to oh my gosh, I can't even remember the name. What's the movie with Michael Keaton and
The Founder.
The
The
Founder.
Founder.
Because it's in a limited release. It's only on 1,000 screens, but maybe that can edge in for number 5. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Rocha.
Yeah, very similar to Clark's. I have Split at 1. I made Christian Harloff tell me the twist the other night.
You're so lame.
Go see Split.
You had him tell
Let me
you the
tell-
twist?
Yes.
It's also, I'm
Go-
sorry to interrupt, but it's not a twist, it's a reveal.
Right, fine, a reveal if you want to be technical. It would be a twist to me.
I don't
so
want-
I'm going to tell you, go see Split. That's all I'm telling you. Go see it. So it is, I put that number 1, Triple X number 2. I went to see Triple X as well. If you saw the first one, it's basically the first one all over again to a degree. And Nina Dobrev almost steals the film. She's fantastic in the film. Hidden Figures, definitely number 3. La La Land 4. Go see it if you haven't seen La La Land, Clarke Wolfe. And 5, I would put Sing, because I still think animated stuff pushes up. You know, people need a place to deposit their kids. So there you go.
All right, I'm going the opposite of you guys. I'm going to say Triple X Return of Xander Cage is going to be number 1, just purely because it's going to get kind of that Fast and Furious kind of fall off from that. I think with Split, I just haven't seen that much advertising for the film.
Oh, wow.
Really?
I've seen a lot.
Really?
So have I,
Maybe
yeah.
we're watching different programs. 'Cause, yeah, I've seen a lot of Triple X stuff. I think it will narrowly beat out Split. I could be wrong. Then 2 Split, 3 Hidden Figures, 4 La La Land, which surprisingly, it's a lot of buzz. I looked on IMDb and it was like the number 1 movie that was being looked at. You know, that doesn't mean it's gonna be the number 1 movie, but people are just fascinated by this film. Number 5, I have Rogue One staying on there. Perry?
We're actually gonna have to do a total.
Oh,
off,
okay.
Because
Sure.
I have the same list as you. I'm going Split number 1, and even if you haven't seen any advertisements for it, I was just comparing it to The Visit, which crushed it in August. I think that movie made like 25 million
was
or something
great.
like that. Triple X, I'm going number 2. Hidden Figures number 3. I don't think there's a single chance that movie is gonna drop faster at all. It's got that 3 position locked. And La La Land number 4. And I think Sing is gonna hold on to number 5. I was wavering a lot between that, Rogue One, and Patriots Day. Patriots Day did not. I did not do well last week with box office because Patriots Day did not do very well, and Rogue One dropped fast. So there is my top 5 for Split. I'm gonna say 22 million.
I say 25. Around 25. I think. Okay, yeah, Clark's right. Reveal. I apologize. Reveal. Still, reveal or twist, however you want to classify it. Go see it. Trust me. It's not what you see on the internet. It's not that. Trust me, it's not that. So
I
go
feel
see
like because you picked a higher number than me, you're gonna go out and just be like, Split marketing
Yeah,
team,
yeah.
go see it.
it. I'll be right outside the door. Yeah, go see it.
All right, guys. Before we get on a mailbag, I remind you that we're going to take your live Twitter questions at the end of the show. You can tweet us at Collider Video. Also, remind you that a bunch of videos dropped yesterday and today and through the weekend. We have a doubleheader season. What season of the Schmodown is this now?
Season 4?
Season 4 of the Schmodown starts today with a doubleheader. We have Heroes versus Superhero News. We have Bibiani versus JTE. Both of those videos are coming out today. Yesterday we had Jedi Council. Tomorrow we're going to have our Star Wars Rebels review. We also have Mailbag coming out on Saturday and Sunday. And also, do we have a best of the week this
No.
no?
And
No?
I guess this would be a good time to say.
Oh, this feels
Well,
familiar.
at least I
this
can
feels
laugh
familiar.
about it now. Yeah, best of the week has come and gone.
Transformed. It has transformed.
It's come and gone, and it is transforming. And I'm not going to spoil what it's transforming into, but I really do think you guys are going to like it. Thank you so much to everyone who kind of stuck with it, who was always commenting week to week, who sent in a whole bunch of memes and all that stuff. So thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned because a new best of the week-ish thing is coming at you next week.
And also, a reminder, we have a new episode of Awesome-tacular, which is on the Verizon Go 90 network. You can go get the app, or you can go to the website, www.go90.com. It's free. You can check it out there. That's with Jeremy Johnson. You know, you'll see a bunch of Collider people on there as well. All right, let's move on to Mailbag. Sinead, what do we got?
Nathaniel writes, "Hey, Collider crew, my name is Nate and I love the show. My question is simple. Why is La La Land getting so much critical praise even though the picture quality is soft and out of focus? I thought it was a problem with the theater at first, but many other people have complained about the same problem. Why are the technical aspects of this film being completely ignored?"
I don't think the technical aspects are being completely ignored. One, the movie's actually shot on film versus digital. You probably have gotten used to digital now. Most movies now are shot on digital. Yeah. It's a lower budgeted film. It's not a so someone like Christopher Nolan, who shoots, you know, these big movies like The Dark Knight or Dunkirk, he's shooting on film as well, but he's got the money. He's got a nicer grade of stock of film. The lenses he uses on his productions are much higher quality. La La Land was a smaller film, so I think that may be where people have that thing where they're watching the film and wondering why it doesn't look as clear and as clean as possible. I did notice, for me, the technical aspect was the sound mix. That first opening sequence, like, it's a little muddled when you try and listen to the actual lyrics. That was my thing. But overall, technical aspects are important, but they just aren't the most important things when it comes to movies, you know? Story, acting, performances, all those things matter a lot more. There's a movie, what was that movie? Transcendence. Wally Pfister he's Christopher Nolan's ex-cinematographer. On a technical aspect, it looked great, but the movie was a snooze fest. It was boring, and so I feel like people are concentrating on more important things. What do you guys think about La La Land and its technical aspects?
I've seen La La Land in theaters 5 times now, and I have yet to notice any problems with the focus or with the sound, but I was not looking out for it. For all I know, I'll go see it again, and I'll see what people mean. I imagine, you know, just part of the problem with getting a super crisp focus when you're making a movie like this, too, is, I mean, just look at what that opening scene is. It's a very, technically challenging thing to shoot, and, you know, keeping your focus right on point for something like that is extremely difficult. So I imagine in moments like that, yeah, it might go a little soft. For me, none of that, no technical flaw. I mean, clearly I didn't even notice any, so none of them affected the quality of the movie for me.
Nathaniel, I want to buy you a ticket and fly you here so I can just do this. It's supposed to be an homage to those kinds of films from that era. So therefore, they're trying to evoke that feeling. Go watch old musicals. Go see them. That's what you see. That's the kind of soft focus. That's the kind, because they're trying to create a fantastical world for you to be in, and it's subconscious. So I'm glad you noticed it. That's great that you noticed it. But go back and watch other musicals from the 50s, 60s, 40s even. Even go watch That's Entertainment, which is a compilation of clips from musicals, and you'll see that that's what the director, Damien Chazelle was trying to evoke. So I think it was on purpose. You know, this is akin to complaining that Raging Bull's in black and white. Come on. Do a little more research, figure this stuff out, and trust me, you'll understand better.
Yeah, he purposely shot on film
Yeah.
to get
give
that
that
feel.
feeling, yeah.
Clarke, you have not seen the movie yet. You plan on seeing this movie soon?
Is it soft focus of the trailer?
No, I will. I honestly, I didn't love the trailer. I thought, and I love movie musicals. I love them. But I felt like the trailer kind of looked like a parody of movie musicals.
It's not a parody. However,
not a tuba.
there is a certain backlash to the film in the sense of people are expecting a great musical. It's not. It is a musical, but it's an homage to old Hollywood. But it's not trying to, like, the dancing and singing is not going to be on par to something like Singing in the Rain. You know what I mean? Right. And I think some people may have expected that.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly heard from so many people that it's a great time and what to expect and all of those things. I just haven't quite made it around to it yet. But I do plan, if I see it, to go the Vista, which is a theater here in Los Angeles that shows film prints. They're screening it right now, so I might go over to the Vista and check it out.
All right, guys. Now let's move on to live Twitter questions. When do we get?
First one comes from Kylo Ben, who writes, will there be a split spoiler review?
There is not going to be a split spoiler review. There is a non-spoiler review that Perri did already, but Clarke and Christian are going to be doing an editorial video talking about the ending.
Absolutely. It's we're gonna shoot it very soon, and it'll be up on Collider Video today, right? Yeah. So you keep your eyes peeled for sure.
All right.
All right, next one comes from Flowers for Eldoron. Will Warner Brothers do with Superman what Disney did with Luke Skywalker by not revealing him in any Justice League trailer?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to keep him hidden just to keep the mystery for, But he's going to show up at the end, right?
What mystery?
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
It's like
they're trying to pretend that it's like, they don't put him in any of the photos that they've been releasing. They haven't included him in the cast list, all those type of things.
Yet he released his own image
Yes.
on social media. So success.
and
secret surprise.
He's Superman. So
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sure he's. Yeah, I mean the things were coming off. Yes, of course.
But marketing-wise, they're not going to
Yeah,
include him
no.
in there.
No, because he's
wouldn't
already
mind
been profiled.
I wouldn't
Everyone else
mind
needs
seeing
more time.
that kind of approach, though, just like in the actual story of Justice League, where maybe we don't see him until well down the way, and his return still means something.
Yeah, it'll be Lois Lane trying to hand him his. I think at the end, hand him his logo.
All right, let's do two more.
Okay, Rocky Drago66 writes, Blade Runner 2 and Kingsman 2 both open on the same weekend. Which film will win the box office that weekend?
Kingsman. I think Kingsman. Blade Runner, I mean, it's beloved amongst the film community.
Yes.
But people forget that it was not a box office success when it came out, and it's still more of a cult hit. You're not, if you go outside to the mainstream movie-going audience, you had asked them what Blade Runner is, and they'll be like, what's Blade Runner? So Kingsman.
I don't think Blade Runner has a chance. I think it's definitely Kingsman. And for the reason you just said, you could walk out on the street right now and ask 10 people, have you seen Blade Runner? And I'd like to bet the majority would say no. And I have actually, because I have this weird fear that anytime I participate in a Schmodown, I'm going to be asked a Blade Runner question. And I hadn't seen Blade Runner in years and years, so I've been trying to rewatch it. And I say that plural for a reason, because at this point, I should have just bought the movie, because I think I've rented it like 4 or 5 times.
I will give it to you.
And it took me 5 watches to finish it.
I have it in 5 different versions. I will give you one of my versions. Here's what I'll tell you.
Oh,
Here's-
I don't need it now.
Here's my thing. It will absolutely destroy Kingsman. You all are crazy. This is America, and now officially Trump's America, and we have Harrison Ford and Ryan Gosling. American act. Wait, is Gosling Canadian?
He's
Either way,
Canadian.
it's close.
He's Canadian.
He's close. So either way,
It's close.
they're white leads who people know, speak English speak. What you have in Kingsman is British film. If you want to talk about cult film, Kingsman is essentially kind of a cult film itself. So I don't see how Kingsman will override
Kingsman
Blade
did
Runner.
very well at the box office.
Well, so did Blade Runner, and it's in
No, it did
5
not.
different
It didn't.
versions.
Blade
No,
Runner
I
did not.
mean, in the long run, it's a heralded film that's done numerous iterations have come out because there's a public and a demand for it. The last one was a 5-disc compilation for one movie, and that's got to tell you something about that, in my opinion. That's my
Clarke, who's winning the box office?
Well, I will say, at first I thought Blade Runner, but not because of the legacy, because I thought, okay, this is a big action science fiction movie that had, from the director of Arrival and Sicario, and how do you sell that? Well, you could easily sell that, and then you've got somebody like and Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford. I'm thinking, okay, that's why I thought, no, I would think that would win. But then once I thought a little bit more, yeah, Dennis, you're right. Kingsman did so well at the box office, and it was very successful on VOD as well. So I think the idea of a follow-up to that, I really do think it's going to win.
Don't you think a film that people have been waiting for 30 years?
But this is
for
the
a
thing,
sequel?
But I think
I
it's a
know-
smaller contingent of people that are waiting for that
Okay.
film.
Yeah, I mean,
As much as beloved as the movie
Yeah.
is, it's a smaller group of people.
Cody
Let's
and
also
Adam, I
not
want you to-
forget the
don't-
My
don't
Little
lose this.
Pony movie comes out.
Yeah, don't lose this. Don't lose this video because I want to. If I'm still here in that time, I want to reference this video later, when it happens.
All right, let's do the last one.
Okay, this one comes from Drew Yepsen, who writes, do you see any correlation between Taxi Driver and Split?
what?
Taxi
Between Taxi
Driver
Driver
and
and Split.
Split.
The
Well,
Robert
I
De
have
Niro?
not seen Split, so I cannot comment.
The Robert De
on
Niro
that.
film.
No.
No.
So I apologize. I wasn't trying to be rude. No, I do not.
No, because
that.
De Niro was he went crazy over his obsession to be famous, whereas in Split, it's a multiple personality disorder. That's a different situation.
And multiple different characters portrayed by James McAvoy. So no, it's not. I would not compare the two.
Perri?
What they said, no. Not at all.
All right. That's it for this show of Collider Movie Talk. I want to thank the people joining us at the table today. Perri, where can people find you?
You guys can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at Perri Nemiroff. Collider Nightmares every Wednesday morning. Watch and tell your friends. And then, as we said before, Best of the Week is not happening this week, but there's something good coming your way next week, so you're going to want to keep an eye out for that.
Rocha?
Hey guys, you can always find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Find me at Geek and Sundry every Wednesday at 1 p.m. We do Super Animation Game Time with Yuri Lowenthal and I. We interview somebody from the world of video games, animations, and voiceover. And also every Friday, obviously here, and on the Cinephiles, which is on iTunes. Last week we dropped Singing in the Rain with Milena Govic, who's a Broadway dancer, and she was on Rescue Me in a number of shows. And today we dropped 1981's Excalibur by John Borman. So we are super excited for that one. So please download it on iTunes. Go and find it. Cine-Files with an F.
Clarke, where can people find you?
At Clarke Wolfe, Clarke with an E, Wolf with an E, and on Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Collider Nightmares. If you liked hearing about Colossal and you're curious about movies like Split, tune in, give us a try. You probably like it.
Wendy?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just reading the chat, and oh goodness. All right, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
Sinead?
I'm online at Sinead DeVries and at thatsosinead.com. As unexcited as I am about turning 25 on Monday, I will be here on TV Talk and then back next Friday for Movie Talk.
Thanks to Adam and Cody in the back over there. You guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero or on Instagram, Dennis.tzng. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Collider Videos for all of our wonderful shows. See you guys next time.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.